Federal Executive Council directs talks to avert looming health strike.
NEC approves grassroots development, strengthens emergency response nationwide.
Floods submerge Maiduguri homes and residents count heavy losses.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss brain health for all ages.
And so we talk a lot about physical fitness in this country, but not nearly enough about brain health. In the meantime, the brain is literally the engine room. If it's not in good shape, then nothing else runs smoothly.
You're absolutely right, Victor. And it's not just about old age or mental illness. Everyday stress, lack of sleep, even poor diet, and maybe some money not in your pocket. Of course, these things can, take you away from a healthy brain.
Indeed, and that's why this morning we are going to continue to put the spotlight where it matters on the brain. What causes damage, what we can do to prevent it, and how to care for this powerful yet very fragile organ. We are picking up from last Friday's conversation on brain health.
Now imagine this, scenario, maybe a bad fall or untreated infection, and someone's life could actually change forever as a result of damage to the brain.
Indeed, I remember many falls myself as a kid, and even as a teenager, secondary school student. I had a terribly bad one, that had me caught on my head.
But have you had your brain checked?
Well, isn't my brain functioning as it is?
We need to check that.
Well, many Nigerians don't have access to quick quality neurological care. But the good news is that treatments exist. And from surgery to therapy and simply knowing the warning signs, lives might just be saved.
So true. Now, which is why we're sitting down with top experts like we did last week to break down, all of this just so you can understand and maybe help someone out so that they can make crucial early decisions.
Just recently, the federal government launched a national plan to overhaul brain and care. Finally, it seems we're seeing brain health treated like the national emergency that it truly is.
Yeah, better late than never. This new plan could mean more neuro specialists, better trauma centers, and possibly early detection programs in our communities.
So whether it's prevention, treatment, or government policy, this conversation is long overdue. So we urge you to stay with us as we explore the human brain, its wonders, its weaknesses, and how we can protect it
Of course.
in a better way.
Yeah, it's the engine room of your body, so you want to stay put with us. I'm Ray John. This is Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. We're reaching you right here at our headquarters in Abuja. And just in case you do not know, this is the largest TV network in Africa. Shortly, Musa Babaliu. Did I say Musa Babaliu? Oh, well, that's our agricultural correspondent. We've got another Musa here. He's Musa Abubakar. He's on the business desk and is a powerful
The one I like to call Alhaji Musa.
He's got all the news for us this morning. Musa, good morning to you. By the way, Victor,
Hello,
have you changed your name? I don't think I heard
I'm
you.
considering it.
Oh, good one. Musa, please hit us with the morning news.
Hello, good morning to the both of you. Here's the news. The Federal Executive Council meeting has focused on health and infrastructure with a presidential directive for the Federal Ministry of Health to continue dialogue with professional bodies to avert a looming industrial action by workers in the sector. The Council also approved the implementation of the National Industrial Policy 2025 for the Ministry of Labor and Employment.
This is a listening government. The circulars were withdrawn, and now we're in the process of negotiating in a transparent manner the increment in allowances so that we meet those health workers on the needs that they have expressed.
The National Economic Council has approved a renewed Hope Word-based development program to be funded by revenues accrued by government. The Council has also approved the strengthening of state emergency management agencies and the creation of local emergency operation centers across the country.
Advocated for the need for collaboration between the national government and subnational government, for a committee to be set up so that governors and the national government will work together for earlier actualization of this project.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has generated 2.5 billion naira from its recent raids on illicit drug markets in Lagos, Onitsha, and Aba. At an interactive session before the House of Representatives Committee on Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC stated that the funds were realized from fines remitted by traders found guilty of selling fake or substandard drugs. The Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojishola Adeyeye, revealed that the recent enforcement operations cost the agency almost 1 billion naira. The Police Service Commission, PSC, has disowned a recent announcement calling for applications into the Nigeria Police Academy. The Commission says the announcement violates established procedures and was released without its knowledge or input. The Commission insists it holds the exclusive constitutional authority to recruit into the Nigerian police force and has condemned the unilateral action of the police academy. Kwara State High Court in Ilorin has convicted and sentenced Abdurrahman Bello to death by hanging over the gruesome murder of Hafso Lawal. The four co-defendants in the case have been acquitted of criminal conspiracy. Now, heavy rainfall in recent days has triggered severe flooding in several parts of Maiduguri and its environs, submerging homes, shops, and major roads. Although the water has receded in some areas, leaving no viable trace of the havoc, but left behind a trail of destruction, and residents are now counting their losses. Women from 6 area councils in the Federal Capital Territory, represented by the National Council for Women's Societies, have adopted the First Ladies in Every Home a Garden initiative to promote food security and economic empowerment among women. In a sensitization program on backyard farming, the society and allies train the women in different farming techniques to ensure healthy food and bumper yields. This training will enable the women to effectively implement the initiative and improve their livelihoods. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has called for Africa's inclusion in the United Nations decision-making system. He emphasized that the continent with over the population of 1.4 billion should not be relegated. The Speaker noted that the Nigerian Parliament has embraced parliamentary cooperation among countries, especially with its legislative diplomacy. Now that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues after the break.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in colors, The Real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Ìjọba fún wa ní 75,000. NIN ni mí àti káàdì láti lọ gbà. Nígbà tí mo sì gbà, mo fi ṣe nǹkan tó dáa, mo ra oògùn nínú rẹ̀. Mo ra oúnjẹ tí màá jẹ nínú rẹ̀. Mo sì wọkọ̀ mi náà ń bẹ. A sì fi yòókù ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ ajé pé ká tó máa rí gbé bá. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba wa òkè.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during internment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
All right, this is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Let's now take a look at today's papers and see what is happening nationwide.
All right, Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja is right here with us. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing this Friday?
I'm okay, but I'm really enthralled by what you have on.
Thank you.
Really looked sartorially splendid.
Wow.
I hope I confused you with that.
Did you hear the grammar?
Absolutely, you succeeded.
Good morning, Victor.
Good morning. All right. Yeah, will you lead us?
Let's see what the papers have this morning. I just hope that Chukwudi has not succeeded in confusing me. So let me begin with the business NG. Yeah, the business NG leads with bank stocks at risk as dilution looms. You want to find out what that's about. The business NG will guide you. Above that, we have FCMB. MREIF launched 10 billion naira mortgage scheme to tackle housing deficit. All right, page 2 has that. And stock market trust erodes as investors fume over unpaid dividends. Interesting. And finally, we have fuel price surge. Petrol hits 1,037 naira. Diesel 1,814 naira, according to the NBS. Not a good one. That's on page 2. All right, let's see what the blueprint is offering this morning. The blueprint, of course, leads with different stories. Right here, the lead one is on politics. Amid legal tussle, AGC crisis deepens. Deputy Chair Nafiu declares self-chairman. The writers labels Atiku, Mark, Eric Bishola political hijackers. Lagos PDP expels defected members. All right, interesting times ahead. Above that lead story, we have Nigeria's pension fund assets increased to 24.63 trillion naira in June 2025. Above the masthead, 13% derivation. Niger drags AGF to Supreme Court, seeks interpretation of Section 232. All right. Page 18 will guide you on all of that. Below the picture stories right here, we have federal government, states, local governments, more 8.8 million jobs across 8,809 electoral wards. And below that, Tinubu extends custom CG Adeniyi's tenure. Congratulations. That's on page 21. Landslide kills 3 in Plateau mining site. And that's on page 13. Finally, no visible sign of unrest. Our business is safe in Ghana. That's coming from the federal government and Nigerians over there. Page 6 has all of that. All right, Victor.
Thank you, Henry. And I have the Leadership Friday. The major story here reads, Nurses, Midwives strike. Many critically ill patients are being rejected, says UUTHCMD. We are caught unawares because we never anticipated the negotiation would fail. We were not prepared for this kind of emergency. Well, that story is on page 7. And just above the nameplate, Emir of Gudi, Yobe State, dies at 75. It's on page 12. ADC dismisses Nafiu Bala's claim to party's chairmanship, releases his resignation letter as Deputy National Chairman dated May 2025. That story is also on page 7. And just right inside the nameplate, FG approves 68.7 billion naira to light up 8 universities, hospitals, and rural businesses. You can get details of that on page 19. And coming towards the bottom, final 3 to go, Niger goes to Supreme Court over exclusion from 13% derivation fund. It's on page 10. Man to die by hanging for murder of Kwara College student is on page 2. And Ondo governorship, appeal court upholds Ayedatiwa's victory is on page 14. And finally, before I bring Chukwudi in, Armed Forces Radio has blocked terrorist propaganda and misinformation, says the CDS. Chukwudi.
Yeah, Victor, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you. We would be right to say they don't start again, no. ADC chairmanship tussle already. you know, when politics is one that is pushed by total absence of ideology, you don't get anywhere in terms of pursuing a specific purpose for the people. That's what you see in politics in Africa. The excuses people gave that make them depart from parties in Africa, cross the carpet to the other party and all that. Though you will see even more cogent reasons to do that in parties in the UK, the US, yet the people stay where they are because they got there in the first place on the basis of a belief in something. A belief in something. It is the absence of that belief in something that tends to be devil politics in Nigeria. And so I'm not surprised to hear that ADC is having a tussle already over who is chairman. They are dismissing Nafiu Bala's claim to the party's chairmanship. Okay. Here we have they released his resignation letter as deputy national chairman dated May 2025. So they are proving to him that he had vacated the... Anyway, what we are interested in is for them to get their act together for the benefit of Nigerian people. Because politics creates leaders. Leaders drive development for the people. If the foundation is weak, the product, which is going to become a flag bearer for the people's interest, is not going to be the best you hope for. We pray that they get their act together because I keep saying that the more the merrier. A situation where only the APC is there to, rule us on and on and on, is not one that I personally want to say, hey, hooray to. The more the merrier.
But if someone resigned in May, on what basis do you lay claim to chairmanship?
You're going to hear him say something different. Victor, don't go there. Don't even try it.
Well, that's what we are
May 2025,
analyzing.
May 2025, they are saying that he had tendered his resignation. But the man is going to come up with, no, technicalities will dwell therein. And you're going to hear a different story entirely. But we want more actors on the political scene so that we are, space for choosing.
That's a very interesting story. But what's interested me this morning in the papers, two stories particularly. The first is the nurses' midwife strike. I think Victor read that. Many critically ill patients are being rejected, says UUTHCMD. I mean, this is the situation in all government facilities, health facilities across the country. And I don't think this is a good situation.
No. Thank you for mentioning present and immediate danger. This one is about the people. The first implication is that they are rejected. If they are rejected, it becomes a death sentence for some critically ill people who cannot afford walking over to that private hospital to take over what the public hospitals cannot handle. It becomes a death sentence for them immediately.
Exactly.
Then, of course, the next thing is that for those who can even think about crossing over to the private clinic to continue what the public cannot do because the nurses are on strike, there is the implication of more money. It becomes a more expensive, overture or venture. So it's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
And then it gives quacks opportunity to thrive.
That's another implication. Yes. I remember when we were in the university, one guy, each time he wanted to toast ladies, he had a stethoscope around his neck. And he was not a medical student, He was
Very sad.
He was in the social sciences.
I just hope that they deal with the issue.
I've been hearing and seeing quacks all my life.
So ladies fall for doctors.
Of course. Some ladies
They fall
fell
for
with
quacks faster than the
I don't know why that ladies are falling for doctors anymore. The situation has changed. Doctor will not feed the family.
Anyways, I hope that, this strike thing is not really a funny matter.
It's not a funny matter.
To think that the doctors too are warming up to also go for another strike. I mean,
yes.
This needs to be handled seriously just for,
You were not here yesterday when we said, it was actually one of the guests I got it from. He said, doctors come in 10 minutes, do the ward rounds and drop their expert advice.
With the nurses.
He said it is the nurses that actually go through the toil of patient management.
True.
These people are very important. Don't play down their relevance. Don't try for 1 second. It's unfortunate. You mentioned the second thing.
Fuel prices.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also had it in mind.
In fact, as I was driving to work this morning, there's a particular filling station where I fuel my car.
Yes.
Each time I'm passing through that route, I always check for the pump price. When I checked this morning, I saw it has gone higher than I bought last
Maybe
week.
it's at 10 naira.
Yeah. Excuse me?
No,
More than 10 naira.
No, I still see 890.
No, as of this morning, I saw 970 naira. And the papers are saying 1,037 naira. I'm sure in some places.
So what should concern a curious journalist, is what caused it and what is the likelihood that it's going to go beyond 1 week. It's likely to drop again. Somebody is already complaining that Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria, NOGASA President Benedict Okorie, is warning that Dangote's resolve to distribute fuel directly to stations is going to cause some kind of hiccup in the supply chain. I don't care what the hiccup is all about. There's no law against Dangote supplying directly. I don't think there's such a law. The Petroleum Industry Act has already, handled all that. So my own is it going to help us drop prices at the end of the day? I think it's all market forces working on all that.
I
don't think this is going to last.
I hope it drops.
I don't know the reason.
We're moving towards harvest season. If this price increases or continues this way,
I can assure you it's not increasing. Let's find out why it happened so that our analysis will be most accurate.
All right. And Niger goes to Supreme Court over exclusion from 13% derivation fund.
Yes.
The state says, well, we also have natural resources. We host dams.
Yes, even though we don't get a lot of electricity, Anyway, the point is this. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If really we appreciate the fact that our biggest dam is located on that access, some kind of compensation should go to them.
I think it depends on
you don't have to have...
You are questioning the provision of the law appears to be a bit ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
It talks about natural resources, I guess, from what I'm reading. And so they say, look, we also have natural resources. Perhaps oil has been given the edge so far.
Yeah, maybe the contention is that the environmental degradation that happens when you exploit oil and all that, but you're talking about the gravity of side effects and all that over there. It doesn't mean that the people in Niger, for instance, are also not suffering something from they're offering residency to a major power generating, source. I think it's something that should be looked into. As I said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Let them look into the merits of what they are talking about and behave accordingly. That's what I think.
And thankfully, what we've been told to round off, thankfully, this headline, gives me joy. No visible sign of unrest. Our businesses are safe in Ghana.
It tells you that the leaders of the countries are working. Somebody was telling a Ghanaian protester was telling the president, you must not handle this with levity. You must do this. It shows that their president is preaching restraint. He's a true African.
Right.
And we now have to restrain you so that we can end this segment.
Because I'm naturally talkative. No problem.
All right. I'm going to thank you very much.
Monkey no finding mama like him.
We like you. We'll see you again on Monday.
Bye-bye, guys.
Good Morning Nigeria continues after this break. Please stay with us.
I am pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025, only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, This represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.5%. from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and measurable.
We're not in a romantic relationship, we're in a dash.
Brotherly relationship.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah, very bad boy.
No. Family relationship.
Who be your family?
Situationship.
Are you in a situationship?
It is well.
Survey says... Hey!
Onenge is my girlfriend.
You want dodge? Thank God. Say I hacked. An oversized shirt is okay to wear, but an oversized dash isn't.
Skirt.
Bra.
Shop. Wow.
Pants.
Whoa. Name something you add to your text to make them more interesting.
Emojis.
Stickers. Pictures.
The way we back at the breathing, at the yellow.
Gifts.
Survey says.
My birthday.
Eligible candidates can turn their passion for broadcasting into profession by applying to NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Admission for 2025-2026 academic session for a BSc degree in Mass Communication and Diploma in Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism and Television Engineering. Entry, JAM admissible score not less than 180 and 100 respectively. NTA Television College as a training hub runs specialized courses in media-related area and other professional fields. For more information, log on to our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng. Announcer Management.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And just before we get into our conversation, let's take this background report put together by our correspondent, Ibrahim Dan Hamidu.
We have come to understand that a lot of people don't understand what brain really entails, how brain functions or works.
The brain can be likened to the hardware of a computer system, while the mind is likened to the software. That's why we have different specialists that take care of issues that bother us on each of them. The neurologist and the neurosurgeon, they take responsibility for issues that have to do with the brain, largely, while the psychiatrist takes care of issues that has to do with the mind.
No matter how intelligent you can be, you start having decline. Because the brain is undergoing something called neurodegeneration, which has to do with aging. Some other factors can actually contribute, can accelerate it. Thereby you see people coming down with it earlier. And that's it. It still bounce back to the genetic factor you talk about.
The manifestations of a burdened brain, of a stressed human physical system is this high blood pressure that is usually responsible for what he called bleeding in the brain.
In our society, we have gotten used to mental health than brain health. And as an organization that is dedicated to creating awareness of neurological conditions, advocating for policies, and supporting the affected individuals, we have come to understand that a lot of people don't understand what brain really entails, how brain functions or works. You see people walking What they are just bothered is just the mental health, whether they are depressed or not. But the issues, the main issues, are neglected.
All right, that was the excerpt from our last conversation on brain health. Now let's continue the conversation, and today let me introduce Dr. Samaila Timothy, who is a consultant neurosurgeon and head of neurosurgery FMC Abuja. He's also head of surgical emergency FMC Abuja. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me here. My pleasure.
All right. Also joining us for the conversation, just like he did last week, is Dr. Christopher Otabo, a consultant trauma surgeon. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Good to have you in the studio today. And also here is Engineer Chika Okolisa, Executive Director, Brain and Spine Foundation, Africa. Many
Thank
thanks,
you for
Engineer.
having me.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
All right, let's begin today's conversation, actually a continuation of the last conversation, from where we have laid sufficient groundwork. But let me get going with Dr. Christopher Otabo. And I'm wondering, how does brain trauma differ from other trauma cases that you have handled?
Thank you for the question. Brain trauma is one of the most critical injuries that anybody can have. For some reasons, the brain is special. First of all, it's the coordinating center of the body. Once you lose brain function, and then the individual is at risk for long debilitating injury or even death. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, the father of one of my staff was brought into the hospital, and he was brought in dead. What happened? He had a fall 2 days ago, and innocuous injury, not so severe. He just fell, and they didn't even think it serious, but he was bleeding in the brain. So by the time they realized that things have changed, it was quite late. So they took him to a hospital, and then in that hospital they said he needs a CT scan. They were on their way to my hospital for CT scan, and he was normal. So he was bleeding in the brain. That's typical subdural hematoma. So you find that an elderly man, he was 70-something, elderly man, with some form of injuries, just not so severe. It may be severe, it may not be so severe. And if proper care is not taken, one thing leads to another. There's build-up of pressure in the brain, and then that can easily compromise the patient.
So are you saying that for every fall, you must get your brain checked?
No, in an elderly man.
What about for children? Because I remember you mentioned that.
Yes, it depends on the force of the fall.
Impact.
But for every fall, really, yes, the brain should be a doctor should evaluate the patient, and if nothing is found, especially in the elderly, you have to tell the relatives to watch out for change in behavior, because sometimes the patient can be sleeping too much. Sometimes the patient can be disoriented. It might even appear like a psychiatric condition. Sometimes is vomiting. Sometimes is feeling dizzy. Any of those things, you must watch out. And adults must be with that person at home. If there is such a change in behavior, please run to the hospital with that man so that the brain can be scanned. And if you take out the blood from the brain, Dr. Timothy, he is a very fantastic neurosurgeon. He does that a lot. The patient recovers fully. But if we say brain is time, last week I said brain is time and time is brain. If an intervention is done early enough, the patient recovers fully. But if there's delay, that delay could be dangerous and it can compromise the patient.
From your experience,
yes,
are road accidents still considered the biggest causes of brain injuries, brain trauma.
Yes. So death from road traffic accidents, brain and spinal cord injuries are the leading causes of death from road traffic accident, followed closely by chest injuries. Sometimes the patient don't even have the chance of getting to the hospital. The impact is too much and they die on the spot. That's what we call primary brain injuries, from that leads to death. Then there are others that are secondary brain injuries that as a result of swelling in the brain after some time of the injury or bleeding in the brain and stuff like that. And sometimes all those things lead to respiratory embarrassment and then ultimately leads to death. So if we track these injuries and people get the care that they require, emergency cares that they require, neurosurgical care, you don't even have to be a neurosurgeon to pick some of these things and then quickly refer to a neurosurgery center. That's the key. But if everybody is oblivious of what is going on, they will be losing lives unnecessarily.
All right. Many thanks, Dr. Otabo. I'd like to get to Dr. Smaila Timothy now. Dr. Otabo just mentioned something that once there's an impact, once there's a fall, that you should watch out for signs. And he talked about psychiatric, behavior, right? So now there's a connection with how healthy your brain is to how mentally well you are. But speak to us. He's talked about accidents. He's talked about falls and all of that. What other factors, just reiterate for us. I know it was mentioned, some were mentioned last week, but what other things could damage your brain health?
Thank you. Before I go into those factors, in addition to the factors earlier mentioned, I will take us back a bit to the scenario he created. Subdural hematomas are important type of brain injury that we see often. What is striking about it, especially as mentioned in the elderly, is the fact that the brain had gone atrophic. The brain volume in the elderly is reduced. So we have this unyielding skull with a very large volume containing just a smaller volume of brain. Because of that, there are.
So are you saying the brain reduces as you age?
Yes, as we age, yes, because of degeneration.
So for a child, it's bigger?
It's bigger.
Oh.
Okay, look at it this way. We have a peanut or granite in its own shell, fresh, and we have the dry granite in its shell. When you shake the two, the dry seed moves, right, rapidly within it.
So as it shrinks, does it affect its function?
It affects function in what we call neurodegenerative disease conditions, but I will put that one aside for now. I want to lay emphasis on the subdural hematoma. We have acute subdural hematoma, we have subacute subdural hematoma, and we have the chronic subdural hematoma. Unfortunately, the rate of accumulation of the subdural hematoma in the scenario he created was fast and rapid. Because of that, it led to rapid increase in intracranial pressure, leading to all the components of affectation of the brain that will lead to death. In some persons, the trauma will have occurred, sometimes so trivial that nobody could be able to say what had caused the trauma. Then everybody forgot that this old man, usually from the age of 65 upward, when the brain is expected to have shrunken a bit, had trauma. So a person is neglected and allowed into the society to perform normal activities like nothing had happened. And then we find them coming, picked up maybe in the morning by the relations, obtunded, drowsy, not behaving normally. Some other persons will go treating for hypertension because, as the cranial pressure is increasing, blood pressure is equally increasing. So they find themselves getting treatment for hypertension and not for the primary problem. Some other persons may think it was stroke in the elderly until the brain is scanned. Then we'll find sometimes bilateral chronic subdural hematoma that has stayed for a long time. When these patients present, they have different presentations. Some are outrightly unconscious. But the gratifying thing about it is that once it is identified and there is appropriate, adequate treatment, which is evacuation of the hematoma, the person jumps up. It is one of the miracles of neurosurgery. So I see lesions crying, 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, they are all dancing. Why? Because the hematoma has been evacuated and the brain is now re-expanded and the person is back. So there are so many factors that affect brain health apart from trauma. Okay. Our lifestyle, systemic disease conditions, hereditary problems, which we may have from our genetic makeup. For instance, if we're talking about lifestyle, imagine an alcoholic, somebody who has taken alcohol for a long time, large quantity. We know the effect of alcohol. The immediate effect of alcohol, when we take it, it gives us such euphoria, because it acts on certain neurotransmitters in the brain. The brain releases certain neurotransmitters. Some are inhibitory, some are excitatory. So the ones that are excitatory tend to give us some form of relaxation, happiness, etc. when we take it. But some neurotransmitters tend to depress our reasoning, our intellect, our judgment, our memory. Now, these are acute effects of alcohol on the brain, interfering with brain health at that time. At the long run, you will find that persons who have indulged in alcohol for a long time, in large quantity, will suffer brain atrophy, as we said. So alcohol tends to promote rapid degeneration of brain cells. So the brain is shrunken, doesn't look big, the functions are diminishing because the cells are also diminishing rapidly because of that. So patients will develop different cognitive problems. It also interferes with the absorption and utilization of certain vitamins in the brain, like thiamine, vitamin B1, for instance. And people who have that deficiency may suffer various forms of problems, some of which include what we refer to as alcohol-induced encephalopathy or venous encephalopathy. Some of them will even have certain form of manifestation, neurological manifestations, such as confabulation in what we call Korsakoff's encephalopathy. When this happens, it may progress to various neuropsychiatric behaviors, and then even death can occur as a result of that. That is one aspect of lifestyle. Systemic disease conditions. Let's look at hypertension, for instance, high blood pressure. High blood pressure has a way of dealing with every part of the body because of micro vessels, small vessels, that supply various organs of the body. The brain is not spared too. There are microvascular or what we call small vessel disease that happen in the brain. Now, because the brain depends on oxygen, nutrients, etc., coming from the body, the other systems. If the vessels are diseased, for instance, the supply, the uptake, and the utilization of micronutrients, oxygen, and the rest are affected. Because of such affectation, the cells suffer. We are looking at cells that require energy, cells that need to get oxygen and substrate to produce energy to survive. And the brain takes a lot of energy from the body. It is one organ that can take up almost 50% of what we need in terms of energy. Even the blood supply to the brain is high. It takes something about 1/5 of the blood. Imagine the entire big body is taking, let's say, 4, and then the small brain is taking 1/5 of the total blood supplied. So now, if hypertension is there and it's not controlled, properly controlled, what happens? It deals with the brain. So the brain suffers. One, the vessels can get thrombosed, can get occluded. When that happens, what we find is a situation where there's total or complete cutoff of blood from a particular region of the brain. If it is short-term occlusion with a restoration of function within 24 hours, we refer to it as transient ischemic attack. When it lasts for too long, with permanent or near permanent neurological deficit. The person has suffered ischemic stroke. And ischemic stroke, when it is involving a large vascular trunk, then a large region of the brain is compromised. One of those I dread is what we call proximal medial cerebral artery occlusion or occlusive disease. Once it happens, almost the whole of the hemisphere of the brain is taken.
Fantastic,
It will just go dead.
What about the genetic factors?
Yeah, genetic factors. People, are sometimes born with problems in the brain or the tendency to develop problems in the brain. For instance, people with neurofibromatosis type 1 and 2 have the tendencies to develop certain brain tumors.
Are they born with that condition you just mentioned?
Yeah, it's a genetic makeup. They inherit the oncogene or the gene that encodes for such tumors from their parents, sort of. And then they develop gliomas, they develop schwannomas of various types. You may find patients who may keep going to the ENT surgeons with complaints of ringing in the ear from time to time. They get that ringing in the ear from time to time. Yes, the ENT surgeons will evaluate them. But eventually they are going to get a scan. And when they get such scan, we will find that there is a tumor in where we refer to as CP angle, cerebral pontal angle tumors. They arise from the middle ear, the tumors most time, related to the acoustic nerve or the vestibular nerve, sometimes the facial nerve in the region of the ear, and they grow backward, and then they affect the brain. This is one of such familiar or inherited brain problems. People with some other syndromes, such as Leaf-Remeni syndrome, Tucker syndrome, are also prone, to...
When you were talking about lifestyle, I want to take you back quickly. You talked about vitamins at some point. You talked about some vitamins that if they are lacking, affects the function of the brain. So does that mean that your diet from birth could also affect how your brain functions eventually, maybe at old age or something?
I'll say yes to that. And when you say from birth, let us even go back a bit before birth.
Conception.
Let us even look at before birth. The lifestyle of the mothers. What do they eat? Let's look at two things, most importantly for now. I'll leave the rest. Folic acid is a component of what we eat, vegetables, etc. Okay? So once a woman is pregnant with a child, there is an added demand on the substrate she requires. So we advocate that such mothers should have early antenatal care. Now, before a woman should realize that she has taken in, the central nervous system is already formed. By the time a woman is telling her husband, I miss my period, the central nervous system is already formed within day 25 to 27 of conception. The brain, the spinal cord are already formed. And any damage there will have occurred. So we actually tell mothers that once you are married or not, but once you think that you want to give birth to a child or you want to take in, commence ingestion of folic acid. The thought of being pregnant should prompt you to commence ingestion of folic acid. Why? Because it is required in the critical stage of the formation of the neural tube that will progress to the development of the brain and spinal cord. So deficiency of that, among other factors, lead to what we call neural tube defect. And the brain is one of the neural tube because it's formed from the anterior neuropore, which is the anterior part of the brain, of the neural tube. So if that deficiency occurred, we have children who are delivered with various forms of neural tube defect. Some of them will have what we call encephaloceles, where the brain tissue is herniating through defect in the skull, because the skull is not properly formed, the brain tissue is not properly formed, the covering of the brain is not properly formed, so there's herniation of that into a sac. So you see children who may come to us with what looks like a balloon in the forehead, the posterior part of the head, anywhere in the skull, it can happen. And if a brain tissue herniates out, that brain tissue that herniated out is already vestigial It can't function. Even in the surgery, we don't push it back. We excise. So that will affect the brain function, right? Okay. So that is nutrient at the time of conception or even before conception. What happened after? Certain B vitamins, as I mentioned before, the B1, B12, affect brain function. The way we think, the way we reason, the way the nerves themselves, perform their physiologic function that keep us normal as humans are enhanced by the presence of the nutrients. So when they are deficient, then the brain suffers.
All right. Dr. Timothy, thank you very much for that elaborate
lecture. Maybe we can add doctor briefly to our names
right.
after that.
But I've learned quite a number of things just from this first input that you have made. But Dr. Engineer Okwuolisa, from where you stand, how much awareness would you say Nigerians have about brain health?
Thank you so much. You know, before my sister suffered a brain hemorrhage in 2012, I gave little or no attention to this organ inside here, brain. I think brain is one of the most silent organ in our body, but the most important, because I say is the engine, the control system of the body. When my sister suffered a brain hemorrhage
Tell
from
us
nowhere,
about that experience. Tell us about the experience.
That's the experience I'm trying to share now. That Saturday morning, it's just a normal Saturday. We jogged, we did our the house chores, we prepared to, we just went for outing.
How old was she?
Then she was 28. And we came back. Nothing was wrong with her, seemingly wrong with her. In the middle of the night, she was in my room. She was staying awake late. And I remember begging her to go to bed because we are going for 7 o'clock service in the morning, and that we will likely jog before going to church. So she was like, okay, let her just finish sending email, which she did, and off my light and went to her room. It wasn't not up to 2 hours, around after 12. She ran back to my room and woke me up. I was angry. And she was like, that there was this kind of headache that she had, because she's a prayer warrior. She still is. I said, you that is a prayer warrior, please, off my light and go and pray and sleep. She was like, please, pray for me. I said, okay. Reluctantly, I woke from bed. I just went into the bathroom. I said, start praising. Let me ease myself. As I was coming out of the bedroom, my sister was going down. And I said, Victoria! Before I knew it, I couldn't see the black eye again. I was just screaming, shouting. I didn't even know when my neighbors, they were knocking, banging. They had to pull down my door. They had to pull down my door to enter inside my room, where I was saying, Victoria, you will not die, you will not die. My mother will not bury you. Victoria, no way. They packed us inside my car, inside their own car, rushed to a nearby hospital. The doctor that was on call said something. She said, I hope it's not something, what I'm thinking. I said, what are you thinking? He said, I will not understand. But if it's what she's thinking, that my sister had little chance of survival, I said, no way. So, unfortunately, they did not have CT scan. They had to put her in emergency, put oxygen. and asked us to wait till morning, that we will have to go to Gariki Hospital for a CT scan. That was the time I had to ask, what is CT scan? So she was like, the scan of the brain. Okay, in the morning, so we went to Gariki Hospital, and we came back, the report was what they were thinking. And we were told then that she had, in fact, the doctor said she had less than 0.1% chance of survival. We waited. I was told that she needed a special consultant. And unfortunately, that the person will come after 4 days. That 4 days was like 40 years, because we speak with our mother every day, and I did not know how to, tell my mother that she could not speak to Victoria. That particular time, she was already in coma. And we began to, hide so many things. Then the 4th day finally came. My sister was there in ICU, and I kept, paying for the ICU. On the 4th day, I was eager to meet the doctor. And 1, 2, 3, I started going around. I have heard that the man was around, and I was thinking that the person was coming specifically for my sister. So when I couldn't see him, I started going around the hospital looking for the special doctor myself. And I saw the doctor inside a pediatric ward where he was seeing some patients. And I couldn't wait. I said, sir, I thought you are coming for me. He said, who are you? So the nurses there were like, okay, it's a patient, da. I said, I thought you are coming for me. He said, I am a general consultant. And I said, where? You are general consultant. I waited for 4 days. And that was when, in fact, the hospital thought that I had gone mad, because I said, give me my sister, or you kill 2 of us. So they thought, you're crazy. Give you your sister in ICU. I say, remove everything. Give me my sister. It's either I go on my way looking for solution, she dies, or
So are
she
you
lives.
trying to say in that particular hospital at that time, a general consultant usually visits once in 4 days?
That was what they told me, this was on Sunday morning. That is my sister. I was told that that the consultant will come on Thursday. Remember, this was on Sunday morning. So I was told that he was going to come on Thursday. And I had thought, in fact, by that time, I'm not sure I have heard the word neurosurgeon. I didn't know what it was.
Because of time, could you quickly summarize? So eventually,
I took my sister that night. We jumped from one hospital to another. From DIF, they said they will not accept, it's already a casualty. We went, they said we should go to Primus. We ran to Primus. They said it was already a casualty. I rolled on the floor, just keep her stable. I didn't even know whether she was alive or not. They refused. That time, the resident doctors were on strike. So the only option we had was to go back to National Hospital, which we were told before that there was no doctor. We went back there. As we were going, we were calling. In fact, I was calling all the numbers of the doctors on my contact. And because it was late, so they couldn't pick. Later, while I was at National Hospital trying to find anywhere, no place except to even keep my sister. So one Dr. Emeka Nwobodo, a radiologist then,
you may skip the names of the doctors in the hospitals.
Okay, called me back and said, what is it, chick? And I told him. So that was when he said, wow. He said, okay, start driving to somewhere in Maitama, that he was going to call a friend of his who just opened a neurosurgery hospital, that let him try if he could get him. And that was how we were able to get there.
So luckily, what was done? Surgery was done on your sister, or how was she revived?
Yes, surgery. And okay, when we got there, she had pulse. They checked, she still had pulse. And the next day, the surgery was done. But while the surgery was done, according to them, the brain wasn't moving. So it was just a miraculous stuff. according to the doctor, that when they were trying to, see how to break the news to me, the brain started pumping. So that was how my sister came back to life. And that was a first surgery to save her, life-saving surgery, then followed by second, another, third. She had 5 brain surgeries, 3 in Nigeria. The third one was so badly done that, in fact, the pus was coming out of her brain. Okay.
So how long did it take before she recovered? From when this attack happened to when she became back to her Victoria self? How long?
I would say like 5 years.
Wow.
It was a long journey. My life stood still, taking care of my sister for 5 years.
So within this 5 years, from the time the first life-saving surgery was done, was she able to speak? Was she able to move? Was she able to do?
Sure, she was able to.
So why were the other surgeries carried out eventually if she was technically fine after the first surgery?
Why
were the other surgeries, the subsequent surgeries carried out? Because my question is, after the first life-saving surgery, which you said happened, was she able to speak? Was she able to talk?
Yeah, she was able to. Remember, she was also she also had stroke. She also had stroke.
Something you missed out, and I want to find out. Before this experience that happened that night, where she fell, and did she have any impact with her brain? Did she hit her head?
Not at all. What happened to her was a congenital issue. It's called arteriovenous malformation. It's a condition where some of the veins in the blood vessel in the brain tangled. I think the doctors will explain better.
Automatically. Is that what the doctor said? It happens automatically on its own?
No, it doesn't happen automatically on its own. When the pressure continues to add, it gets to a stage where the brain, where the blood vessels bleed. Okay, and once it bleeds, that is that hemorrhage that happens, and the person
How's
can either
Victoria
die.
now?
Victoria is fine.
Perfect.
But what did this experience teach you? What did it tell you about awareness among Nigerians?
Yes, when my sister when the event happened, all that I was hearing was that it was an arrow. It was an attack. It was, in fact, that time, as an engineer, I was literally doing well. Do you understand? So everybody was like that the arrow was fired at me. I dodged.
You dodged.
And then it hit my sister.
Your prayer warrior sister that it hit.
Fantastic. So I now dodged. But because of the kind of person I am, I said no. And I began to...
But at any point, did you think that prayers solved the problem? Or you think that medically...
what are you talking about? It's just God. It's just Jesus, nothing else.
So what did you find? Because it appears that for brain health, there are many factors that could become a problem.
That situation...
I'm learning a lot at the moment. So, but how do Nigerians, what level of awareness would you say there is?
We are still getting, in fact, we haven't started. The level of awareness is little because that exposure, now, that incident exposed me because, remember, I'm now like a constant visitor or dweller in neurosurgical hospitals. So, every blessed day we were in the hospital in Nigeria, it seems, I became conversant with people dying, just coming, dying. Either they're bringing and they're dying.
You also said that you had 3 surgeries in Nigeria, 2 outside the country. What prompted you to move outside the country eventually?
Yeah, because at that particular time, the surgery was already the wound was already very bad. And the only place
so it was not properly done in Nigeria? Is that what you're saying?
It was not properly done in Nigeria.
Okay, fantastic. We'll pause you at this point. Let's get to Dr.
But that was then.
That was then.
Yes.
That's what I want to find out from Dr. Otabo. I mean, carrying an experience is, I don't know, not a good one. But speak to us about the state of neurosurgery, right? That's the term, in Nigeria. Is it at an advanced stage, or should we be praying that, nobody has a brain issue in the country?
Okay, well, we are not where we used to be, but we are not where we ought to be. A lot is going on right now in terms of neurosurgical care. There are a lot of gaps. Gaps in terms of awareness of the population. Because knowledge brings light. And so that knowledge can help to modify behavior, and it would impact on outcome of treatment or the condition. So when you delay, you first of all go to church, you accuse witches and wizards for the change in behavior of your loved ones, and you first of all go to traditional healers for something that is a purely neurosurgical issue. You have lost precious time. And I said again, brain is time. So from the population angle, a lot of awareness needs to be created that, look, if you notice changes, please come to the hospital, whether in a child, in a young adult, or in the elderly. They present differently. Then in terms of hospital care, there are a lot of deficiencies in many of our centers, especially the government hospitals. But even then, some of the teaching hospitals still retain the best hands. But it's just that the equipment problem might be there. Infrastructure problem, no diesel to fuel generator, ICU issues, and all that. And that's why private hospitals like us decided to come in to bridge the gap. And now, like I gave an example the last time, how a pole fell on a young man in the farm, and he went flat unconscious. And they rushed him to our hospital. From the ambulance, we took him straight to the CT scan. And within 5 minutes, his brain was scanned. We saw massive bleeding. He was flat unconscious, 3/15. That's the worst unconsciousness. And if nothing was done, in 2 hours, that guy would be gone. Fortunately, Dr. Timothy was part of our neurosurgical team at that time. From the CT scan, we moved him straight to the theater. We didn't even consider money at that time. I was not sure whether anybody would pay, because you didn't plan for such. It's a big deal. But I was interested in saving the life. We took him to the theater and evacuated a huge amount of blood from his brain, took him to the ICU. And the next morning, to the glory of God, the guy was sitting on his bed drinking tea. I was so pleased with that. You know the interesting thing? Somebody eventually showed up and paid his bills. Because we took a risk. They may not have paid, and there's nothing we would have done, but I was interested in saving the guy. So what am I pointing out with this?
Which of course is your primary duty.
Yes, of course. Yes, but then it's not every hospital that have the capacity to do that. And if you continue to do that, you may run out of resources and you won't be able to even be around. It was a risk we took, and I take that all the time. And sometimes it pays off, and sometimes we have to write it off. But what am I driving at? I'm explaining the functionality of the system. Because if you go to some hospitals, they will tell you, okay, please, we don't have a CT scan. You have to go to X center to do CT scan. There are some government hospitals you go to, they will tell you come back after 3 days for CT scan, because they have a long list of people. If that guy had gone to that place and they say, come back tomorrow, he won't be alive tomorrow to come back. Then there are some centers, you cannot do a neurosurgery in 24 hours. It's not possible, just because of logistic issues. They may have to call the neurosurgeon from another city. They may have to, plan so many things. So what am I talking about? There are logistic problems. There are infrastructure problems. And even personnel. We have 150 neurosurgeons attending to 230 million people. That's scandalously low.
As at this morning, are you sure some have not jackpot as at yesterday?
Well, yes, you have a point, because people, the neurosurgeons are leaving. All these professionals are leaving. So we have few specialists. Now, in the cities, they are even more concentrated. I don't see any neurosurgeon after spending 7-8 years in the residency program going to the village or Okokomaiko or Kaura Namoda to go and practice. It doesn't make sense. That means that most of the neurosurgery cases will have to come to the cities to be treated. But not everybody can get here. So these are the issues with
All
the
right.
neurosurgical care in
All right.
Nigeria.
Thank you, Dr. Otabo. Dr. Timothy, what would you say is missing when it comes to care of head injury victims? What's missing in the chain that usually impacts, determines whether there's life or death?
My chief here, Dr. Tabo, led a very nice but sad foundation to this discussion. Before we get into awareness, let's look at the infrastructural problem. We make diagnosis with neuroimaging. For trauma, CT scan is the gold standard. I can tell you that there are states, I won't mention states names here, that do not even have CT scan. We're not even talking about local government areas. Yes. So once a patient slumps now, his survival is in the hand of God, and then the effort of the medical team doing what they can do by clinical diagnosis and assumptions. So a head injured patient in such claims, presenting unconscious, for instance, nobody will be able to say whether the patient has primary brain injury such as contusions, brain lacerations, diffuse axonal injuries, or the patient has secondary injuries ongoing, diffuse brain swelling, and hematomas. Now we'll talk about hematomas or hemorrhages. Hemorrhages could be epidural, subdural, lobar, subarachnoid hemorrhages. Without CT scan, it is difficult for anybody to make such diagnosis. So I say that living in the city centers, for instance, is an advantage. So I think that in terms of head injury, the life expectancy of those who live in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos is more than the life expectancy of those who live in other states where there are no CT scans, there are not MRI, and there are no neurosurgeons. It is a public health problem, really. And I think that government should inculcate head injury into the primary health program.
You may not be right about the life expectancy thing, by the way, because some people who live in rural areas have access to healthy food.
Yeah, I made reference to
and some of us, who live in these cities,
from head injury.
From head injury.
I'm saying that if this person is injured in the city and the other person is injured in the villages, the chance that this person is going to get neurosurgical intervention in the city is
higher than that in the rural area. But I want you to speak about something. The condition that engineer Alcolisa was talking about, her sister's experience. What do you think could have prompted that? I'm thinking, could it have been stress from work, or could it have been, no, she said congenital, but I mean, speak to us really, because I mean, a child.
She mentioned a particular condition, so she has already given us a diagnosis of arteriovenous malformation. It's a malformation. It's a problem with formation of the vessels in the brain.
From birth.
Now, we usually say...
And that had to wait for 28 years?
It had been there. What happened to it was an accident. Just like stroke. Stroke of various forms occur as a result of disruption, isn't it, in the normal flow of blood.
So is it possible for her to have had that malformation from birth and survived all through her life without that particular experience?
Yes.
So what are the factors that could improve your brain health, even if there are distortions in its formation?
The malformations are already there.
Good. I'm saying what could prevent you from...
Improvement in brain function as a result of the persons that have malformations already is basically, one, knowing that that problem is there. Two, maintaining normal blood pressure. Because increased blood pressure going to vessels that are not properly or were not properly formed, weakened walls with tendency to rupture, will definitely bleed. Arteriovenous malformation is not the only malformation, vascular malformation we have in the brain. But what we say is, if the diagnosis is made, remove it. That will improve function and reduce the risk of hemorrhage than leaving it to non-operative care and managing one's lifestyle in order to prevent bleed. Why manage lifestyle to prevent bleed when you know that the trigger to bleed is just small? Just a little trigger and it will bleed. And it may bleed at a time that you may not have what? Support. If she had gone home now in one village in the east or west or south or anywhere where there are no neurosurgeons, and if she was not at home that day, she would have been picked up dead in the morning.
Now, Dr. Okolisa, speak to us about life after the 5 surgeries for your sister. Is she on medication for life? Is she, are there things she avoids? I mean, just speak to us about her lifestyle at this point. And how many years after the surgery now?
She celebrated 10 years 2 years ago.
After the last surgery?
Years, yes.
Okay, good.
Surgery, yes.
So 10 years enough to give us what her life is like now.
Her life is beautiful, though not, the way she would normally be if there was no hemorrhage or no that brain event. But I just want to also say something about awareness. When it comes to brain health awareness, we have to do something. A lot of people are not, we just mentioned arteriovenous malformation. There is an aneurysm. There is tumor. Hospitals or doctors, are still lagging behind when it comes to diagnosis of brain tumor and aneurysm. You see someone always presenting with headache, fever, and the person is on treatment of typhoid and malaria all the time, until the person either dies or, bleeds and then rush to the hospital, and you know what follows. So I am also using this opportunity to call on our medical personnel to increase, to form the habit of when your patient presents symptoms regularly, consistent treatment of typhoid, malaria might be another symptom of that there is something wrong with the brain. I will share an example. This one is not even a poor person, a 16-year-old young man who just celebrated 16 years. And the mother and the other siblings, we are preparing to go to a garden for celebration in Abuja here. And the next day, he was feeling dizzy, feeling weak. Before you knew it, the mom took him to a hospital in Abuja here. And from emergency, he started vomiting. And with all the symptoms that he presented already, I had expected the nurse or the doctors on call to rush him to a radiology unit for scan. But instead, they took him to an ICU upstairs. And when I got the information, I came and I asked, have they done the CT scan? What is it saying? No CT scan was done. And I was insisting that CT scan would be done. Before the CT scan was now done, it was now around 12 a.m. in the morning, around 5 a.m. when the consultant came and now ruled out CT scan because it was already late. The CT scan machine was having issues, so they had to wait until that morning when the consultant came and now ruled it out. And when I came, I insisted that the CT scan must be done. We used ventilator to take the person to the unit, and the CT scan was done. What happened? He had a very large tumor, but it was already late. The brainstem is already gone. And while we were there, thinking of how to break the news to the mom, the grandmother, who according to them, prayed that son into the daughter's womb after 11 years marriage, no child. That child came, had the instinct. She had a stroke and died. We are now trying to see how to break the both news to the mom. So if that guy, according to the mom, they had a family physician, I asked her,
is it possible that that tumor could have been there longer than when it...
Of course. That guy, what the mom told me, has always suffered headache all his life. And the neurosurgeons, I took 3 neurosurgeons, when the CT scan was done, they gave me the report. And I went and sent it to about 3 neurosurgeons. And they said, but this guy must have been experiencing headache every time. I said, yes, the mom confirmed it. And they had a family physician who has always treated him of malaria, typhoid. And they lost that guy like that. And this is the case that we keep having. This is common. I'm telling you, it's common. Even this morning, before I came to this place, I got a call from a mom who, in fact, God saved his life too. She was having a stroke sometime at Kefi Hospital. And they did not know that she was having a stroke. And because he's from my church, and when they contacted me, I said, rush that woman to Abuja. And that was how God used a neurosurgeon to help that woman. Okay? Now, her daughter, as I'm talking to you now, they are in somewhere in Mararaba or Karo, because they came to a hospital in Abuja, inside town here. I don't want to mention the hospital. And with an unconscious child. And they told them that there was no bed. I don't know. The baby is unconscious.
Because of the strike?
I don't know, maybe. But there was no bed. Right. And they took him back they are now in Karo. So she's calling me to help. I said, help. Run and look for a doctor. Run everywhere and make sure that there is nothing emergency with your child. I don't know what to do, but I'm rushing to NTA. I'll get back to you when I come back.
All right.
We should add the problem. Your name too, engineer.
Thank you, engineer. Engineer Dr. Tabo, 2 things, really. What's the average cost of a CT scan? That's one, when you find it. And how can bystanders help without causing more damage in cases like this?
CT scan, on the average, between 80 and 100,000. Yes, for a CT scan. So it's pricey for people, for the low economic status people. Yes, and neurosurgeries are very expensive. Anything neuro is expensive. Neuroimaging is expensive. So that's why our insurance must work, because people can hardly pay for these neurological services from their pockets. It's expensive. Yes. So, and that's why people like us who run hospitals, our consciences are constantly being bruised, because you know that something can be done to help these patients. They don't have money, and you can't let them go. So you just have to
you have a hospital to run.
Yes. So that's the constant. So we want the government to come in. Yes, because if without the government helping, this cannot work.
Right,
even after discovering what the problem is from the CT scan, which is 80,000, you have a 3 million naira to pay for the surgery.
And I ask again, what can bystanders, quickly before we go on break,
yes,
what can bystanders do without causing more damage?
Yes, so if you find someone slumped by the roadside or in an accident, where the technique is needed for bystander is how to manage to carry the patient without causing further injury, especially for people you suspect might have cervical spine injury. So 4 people should carry the patient like a log of wood and put them in. There's no point cramping them inside a sedan vehicle. Yes, maybe an open back vehicle if possible, or an ambulance.
And all of this will take time.
Yes, they do.
The conference to determine that you have 4 people, and then you carry gently,
yes,
and then you get the right vehicle.
Yes, you have to recruit. You have to recruit other bystanders. Yes.
The hospital where they even rush them don't have anything, any equipment, any capacity to help
deal with the issue.
Yes.
Many thanks.
And time.
Yes, and that's sorry.
We need to go on
that's
a
why.
quick break, Dr. Otabo.
Okay.
We need to take a quick break. My director is screaming at the top of our lungs. All right. We have doctors in the house, by the way, director, so be careful. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the naira.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses, and of course harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening, but that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of skills in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. If you joined us at the beginning of this program, you'd agree this is the program to watch all the time. The topic today is brain health, and so much has been said already. We'll go and take some of the messages we got from those watching. By the way, if you want to send in comments, questions, or whatever it is, there's a number on the screen. You can send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message. Do not call. Thank you. So we'll take the messages that we have. This one here says, good morning, my doctors in the house and presenters. I'm enjoying this morning's lecture. I want to ask, please, when aging, the brain reduces. Is that the reason the elderly tend to behave like children? Sometimes. And also, is that the cause of memory loss? Mostly with grandmas and grandpas. That's name calling. I think that's wrong. Julie Ton from Motopo, Benue State. Thank you for your message. Doctor's response says, as you're discussing brain issue, I think memory loss affects brain function. Is memory loss hereditary? Any cure for memory loss? That's coming from Charles Ikechukwu Abaigom. Another one says, good morning. Is there a surgery to correct or stop epilepsy? Coming from Lawal. Brain trauma is a common and major health emergency. How many CT scans and neurosurgeons are available to over 200 million Nigerians, given the considerable wealth available and misplacement of priorities? Nigeria's situation is so pathetic. Well, that's a complaint. Yusuf Abdul from Zaria. Another one says, I'm listening to your discussion. I heard a doctor say that people with BP issues should be taking their drugs always. But taking too many BP drugs has side effects. I am a living witness. That's coming from Zainab Musa. I'm sure doctors will respond to that. Another one says, can hypertension or blood pressure and tension lead to brain damage? I'll take the last one quickly so Victor can also take his. This one says, can madness reoccur in a person who was mad 40 years ago? This person was sane after a while, but is now exhibiting some symptoms. Victor.
All right, I have a number myself, and good morning. My father had a fall around March. Until now, he presents with amnesia and lacks speech coordination. He's also not been able to walk since then. Please, what do I do? May I also get the numbers of the doctors in the studio? That's from Chiebuka Rema in Asaba. All right, and from Felix Cham Menkawe. He says, good morning, presenters and our guests. My question is, what innovative, evidence-based strategies can be implemented across healthcare systems, educational institutions, and community settings to prioritize brain health for individuals of all ages, addressing disparities in access to cognitive health resources, and promoting mental well-being from early childhood through older adulthood? And from Stephen Daumi, a very good morning, Victor and Mrs. John and the guests in the studio. How can depression and insomnia be best handled? Right, from Usman Abdul, my mom had an accident in 2016. She was referred to UBTH. We were in UBTH for over 24 hours, no power for a CT scan, and she struggled and died. I wish I had known about Dr. Tabor then. May Allah grant her Jannah Firdausi. Amen. And good morning, my name is Sunday Levi from Nasarawa Karu local government. I'm a victim of tremors. It has affected every single thing I do as a young man. It has affected my body, movement, voice, writing, hand. I'm a young man with a 2-year-old daughter. I can't do any job to train my daughter in school or any work. I have been to FMC Kefi. I have conducted brain MRI. I was given some medication to help, but the tremor gets worse anytime I take them. Please, what do I do? And finally, from Usman Abdul, the government should prioritize equipping public hospitals with CT scan facilities and also provide support for students pursuing careers in neurology. This will strengthen our healthcare system and build local expertise in critical areas of medicine. That's from Usman Abdul. I don't know if we have responses to some. Some of them were direct questions. Someone wanted doctors, the numbers of doctors. Well, I'm not sure if they had liberty to do that, but
I think this is not really the forum to answer those questions. There are quite a lot of them. Maybe we can have a 1-hour question and answer session where those questions can be addressed. I'm sure you have just a few minutes to go. But what I want to say is that the National Health Act 2014 provided for categorization of hospitals according to their capacity. So what is most annoying, based from a practical point of view, is receiving a patient that have visited 3 hospitals before coming to my place, only to find out that it was too late. So if they had come straight, something would have been done. But if these hospitals are already categorized, these hospitals have this capacity, these other hospitals, this is what they have.
like banks.
Yes, so you go straight and then you save lives. That is already a provision in the National Health Act.
But it's not
they should
implemented.
operationalize the National Health Act. It will solve a lot of problems in terms of critical care. Like, for instance, if a patient needs ICU care, why are you taking him to a place that they don't have a single ventilator? You identified. There should be signs to show, okay, these people have this capacity, these people have this capacity, and then they go there.
Isn't that advertorial?
No. These hospitals are categorized, and the information is out there for the public to see.
You just said
What
that
is
this-
advertorial? We
if
are
you
talking
want
of saving
this
lives. We are
service,
talking,
you
if,
know.
No, because you people always get to say that you're not allowed to.
But it won't
you
be
know,
one hospital.
no, it's you put it out there. Yes, information is information. You are informing the public.
All right.
Yes.
Dr. Timothy, as we begin to round off, what signs or symptoms should make one rush to a neurosurgeon? You know, somebody was talking, you're talking about the 16-year-old who was always having headache. Are there signs and symptoms that, you know, someone watching us may be living with at the moment that you think that person needs to see a neurosurgeon as fast as possible?
If we look at the way hospitals run, neurosurgery is a subspecialty and a super subspecialty. When you walk into a hospital, you know, asking to see a neurosurgeon, it means that you are already aware of your problem, and that is excellent.
Okay.
That's excellent. That means you have to go into the surgical emergency, or you go to the general outpatient and tell them you think you have a neurosurgical problem. You will be referred appropriately to the neurosurgeons instantly. You know, in
what are the signs? What are some of the signs?
However, knowing the signs is very important. You know, let's look at the brain, for instance. Outside trauma, tumors, headache. Headache is one of the commonest signs or symptoms that patients present with. They treat for migraine. By the time intracranial pressure is increasing, they vomit. And then vomiting plus headache is typhoid and malaria. So they get artemether and other medications. What I tell people is, before you start treatment for migraine, which most times is a diagnosis of exclusion because of the different types of migraine headache we have, get a scan. Ensure that the brain is not affected by an organic or physical problem before you subject this person. So headache is one of them. Anybody who has persistent headache on one side of the body or one side of the head for a long time, usually within 3 months, should ask to get a scan. I don't subscribe to people walking into CT rooms asking to be scanned. They should be reviewed by a doctor. But if they have that awareness, they can tell the doctor, I actually came because I've been having headache for too long and I want to have a scan. Now, some persons may have weakness of a particular part of the body. It may not be hemiparesis, weakness of one side of the entire body. It may just be weakness of one thumb, one limb, one part of the body. Any dysfunction at all of the body, dysfunction, neurological dysfunction of the body. I usually tell patients, I say the brain is a generating house. It's like Kainji Dam. The spinal cord is the TCM, the transmission lines. And then the nerves are the discus that go into various localities. And that message I give every patient that has come to me. And I teach them problems arising from the generator, problems arising from the transmission line, which is the spinal cord, and problems arising from the discus. They are different problems, but they manifest with neurological symptoms and signs which they should know. Commonly, general brain symptoms are headaches, blood vision, dizziness, hearing issues, sound in the ear, ringing, vomiting, seizures are all non-specific features. Sometimes some persons will just come to you with drooping eyelid. The upper eyelid is drooping. For such persons, we think straight towards aneurysms, especially the posterior communicating aneurysms. Now, microvascular and neurovascular disease conditions are not well known to Nigerians until they present. When they present, for instance, ruptured aneurysms, present with subarachnoid hemorrhage. Subarachnoid hemorrhage. You know. Yesterday, I got a scan, of a patient. Somebody just sent to me and said, this patient is in this hospital, he's unconscious, GCS is 5. It's a small hospital. I saw the scan. I said, this is massive subarachnoid hemorrhage, occupying the whole of the basal cisterns and then extending into the ventricles. That patient will require surgical intervention.
What about epilepsy?
So,
I think one of the, yes.
Is seizure. Is one of the
it doesn't affect,
symptoms
it's
of
not
seizure.
connected to the brain?
That is why I mentioned here, as a patient who convulse, seizures. That is epilepsy in a layman's term. It's a different classification, but it's seizure.
But there are those who have lived with epilepsy all through their life. No, there's no correction to that? It can't be corrected?
Most of them don't come to hospital to get the right diagnosis because epilepsy has cause. It has a reason. Some people who have been classified to be epileptic actually have neurosurgical amenable conditions that will easily be operated and corrected. They may just be sitting there. For instance, I met a patient just last year, but I operated this year. She came to me with funny sensations. She described it this way. She said that sometimes she feels some movement from her legs up her body, one side, to her hands, or her hand rather, upper limb. And then once that comes, she will not be able to move. When it subsides, she may have complete weakness of that limb, or one of the limbs, the upper or the lower, and then she will recover. I know what we call regional brain syndromes, frontal lobe syndromes, parietal lobe syndromes, temporal lobe syndrome, occipital syndromes. I know cerebellar syndromes. So immediately I listened to her. It sounds like what is coming from the parietal lobe. So I told her, madam, you have a form of seizure, and you may likely have brain tumor. Because seizure, first-time seizure in an adult is likely a brain tumor till proven otherwise, in the absence of fever. If there's fever, it may be an abscess, it may be a parasitic infection or something. But most times with fever, abscesses, pyrogenic abscesses. But in a person without fever, having seizure for the first time, adult will look for brain tumor. And she turned out to have what we call meningioma. Meningiomas most times are low-grade brain tumors, favorable outcome. And she got her surgery done this year. And I'm talking to you now, she has gone 6 months. I've scanned the brain.
How much did that surgery cost?
She spent about, she raised about 3.5 million for the surgery.
All right. Engineer Kohli, sir, in your line...
That was cheap.
That was cheap.
Really?
How much did it cost a sister in total? Just give a rough estimate. Give a rough estimate.
In fact, abroad, what my bill in the hospital alone was $79,000.
As at that time?
In abroad. That's excluding the one in Nigeria. But the surgeries abroad was $79,000.
Yes, permit me to add that when you compare neurosurgical care in Nigeria and abroad, in terms of cost, Nigeria are enjoying.
It's free.
It's
free.
If you say it is free, what about precision in the surgeries?
It's free.
What are the outcomes like?
Some of them, the outcomes are good.
Because it's not about, a lot of people don't consider cost when
not
they're talking
all
about
the time. Not all the time, though.
Nigerians don't
not
know
all
that
the
we
time.
have excellent outcome.
Excellent.
Not
what
all the
the
time,
problem
though.
is with Nigerians is awareness.
Awareness.
Those who have the money have class issues. They think that getting treatment abroad is issue of class. I'll tell you, I admitted a patient who was involved, who had a stroke. He was traveling somewhere between Kano and Dusema, had a stroke. And then he was helped to a hospital in Kaduna, and then from Kaduna he came. My MD said, take this number, call this patient. Call this person. So I called, it was the wife. I said, we're somewhere in Kaduna. My husband is unconscious. We've not had scan, nothing. So I said, okay, come to the hospital. They moved. By the time they came, they saw me standing waiting for them. They were impressed. A consultant standing in front of emergency, waiting for them. I had with me the support staff to receive the patient. We scanned the brain. It was hemorrhage that may not require surgical intervention. So I managed him in ICU, and he got better. He was discharged to the ward. While he was in ICU, they've made arrangement to fly him abroad. So I asked why. They said they were going to somewhere in an African country. So I found that it is just a matter of affordability. They can go. They have the money to go. Not because what we were doing. At the time they were going, they thanked me. They saw the physiotherapy unit. They went there. They were happy with it. What is he doing abroad? I get feedback from them. It's just physiotherapy.
All right. Many thanks.
But they're spending so much.
Many thanks, doctor. We need to
but let me
wrap
add,
up.
before they left, I said, if only you can deploy half of the flights, because they were going with private jet, stay back and give half of that flight money
to the hospital.
Indigent Nigerians you will save a lot of lives.
All right, we'll take some more messages. I have a question for Engineer Kuolisa, but let's quickly rush through these messages. Good morning, my doctors. My dad has had partial stroke for 10 years, and he is still on drugs. He has started behaving like a child. What should we do? That's from Benny. Good morning, discussants. In the story told of her sister's brain problem, there's nothing indicating the cause, a fall, etc. That's from Wefuru in Abakaliki. And finally, good morning. Can I have Dr. Tabo's phone number so I can share my experience with him? My name is Pastor John from Lagos. My sister died in 2004 of this same problem. She was in coma for about 3 weeks before she finally passed.
All right, I'll just take a few more. This one says, good morning, presenters. Doctors, what is the cause of this constant pain in the head, particularly one side and at the back of the head? That's coming from Mr. Solomon from Morozo in Abuja. This one says, good morning, sir. Please, can the doctors help share more about the causes of hydrocephalus in newborn baby? That's Ola from Ilorin. Another one says, I think there should be a follow-up program to address some of the issues raised in this program, especially some states that don't have machines for immediate tests of different health issues. Coming from Muhammad. This program has been an eye-opener. We need to wrap up. We do not have more time, but I do not know if we'll have another program, maybe a part 3. This is part 2, and it looks like we have not even unpacked anything.
But let me ask Engineer Chika Okuolisa, based on your foundation's successes and challenges, if you had the Minister of Health listening or watching, what would be your requests?
Okay, thank you. We just concluded the first African Neurological Health Summit. Dr. Atabo was there 2 days ago, and it was a groundbreaking summit to align Nigeria to World Health Organization's intersectoral global action plan on epilepsy and other neurological disorders. It's first time it's happening. And the government, even the special advisor to the president on health, the minister of health, they all have, agreed to do something on brain and spinal health issues in Nigeria, starting from the, erecting neurological hospitals, just like Dr. Otabo said, from National Health Act, investing in neuro professional, that is the workforce, investing in awareness and prevention, which is really the ultimate, awareness and prevention, both primary and secondary prevention. So that is the first step we are taking to start this conversation on these neuro problems in Nigeria and around Africa.
All right, many thanks. Dr. Otabo, as we round off, I do not know if you want to respond to the one that had to do with the newborn baby with hydrocephalus, and then your final words for Nigerians.
Hydrocephalus simply means water in the brain. There's usually some fluid in the brain, and it circulates, helps to bathe and nourish the brain. But if for any reason there's a blockage or excess production, that water increases in size, and it thins out the brain. So something can be done to divert the water or stop the excess production. So that's hydrocephalus. If nothing is done, the child cannot amount to anything in life.
Very sad.
Yes.
All
so,
right.
yes.
We want to round off, but speak about sleep. Does sleep have a way of dealing with some of the problems in the brain? Like if you sleep for long hours, will it regenerate your brain?
Yes, sleep is a way of refreshing the brain. Without adequate sleep, if one is starved of sleep for a long period of time, it can have very serious consequences. So in everything you do, just make sure that you have adequate sleep. That will help. It's like after the whole day's activity, the sleep helps to refresh the brain and re-energize the brain to start. But if you go back to back without sleep or a very little sleep, it has very severe consequences.
Your final words as we round off.
Well, what I want to say is that the brain is too important to be ignored.
I think we should leave it there. Dr.
Yes.
Timothy, your last words.
I call on Nigerians to seek medical attention, prompt medical attention, once an individual is not what he used to be in terms of behavior.
Dr. Okolisa.
We have a lot of work to do, and the government has a lot to do. We have finished first African Neurological Health Summit and a lot of promises. I'm asking on government to follow their works, and then let's do something about brain health.
All right, we need to go. It looks like we'll have part 3. Many thanks to our guests. Of course, we'd like to appreciate Dr. Samaila Timothy, consultant neurosurgeon and head of neurosurgery, Federal Medical Center, Abuja, head of surgical emergency at the FMC Abuja. It was a pleasure to have you, doctor.
Thank you so much
for being here. And of course, Engineer Chika Okoli is executive director, Brain and Spine Foundation Africa. Thank you so much for being with us again. We appreciate you sincerely. And of course, warm regards to your sister. All right, Dr. Christopher Otaba, our very own consultant, trauma surgeon. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, sir. All right. Victor, you're not ready to go?
Well, lead the way. Ladies first.
He's Victor. Victor what? I thought you said you were changing your name. So what are you choosing?
Next week.
Next week. All right. All right. I'm Ian Ray John. Many thanks for watching. Live locked on the NTA. He's
And
Victor
I'm
Azu.
Victor Azu. Have a great weekend.